Hello everyone, good morning and good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are watching this from. My name is Gauri, your session moderator for today's session, and we are coming to an end for this week's series with amazing session waiting ahead. And I hope you can see my screen. So on behalf of Global Skill Development Council, we are very much excited to launch a hands-on series in ISO Insights, driving enterprise resilience, ethical AI, and operational excellence, which integrates ISO standards to strengthen the enterprise trust, adoption, and sustainable growth. And yes, this week's panel was exciting and very amazing as we come along with the next series, amazing panels of experts. So make sure you're part of that series as well for the upcoming week. And to everyone here for the first time, I would like to give a brief introduction to Global Skill Development Council. So a Global Skill Development Council is a certification body focused on bridging the gap between skills, industry, and innovation. Work created by ABICP with a network of 400 training partners worldwide. So far, more than 250,000 professionals have been certified with GSDC, supported by 500 plus experts, 1,000 plus Fortune companies, and 50 plus universities across the globe. If you would like to learn more about GSDC, I'm sharing more details in the chat box soon. A special thanks to all our partners from Asia, Africa, Australia, Southeast Asia, Canada, and many more regions around the world. A big thank you to everyone who joined us through our training partners. And if you're interested in GSDC training, feel free to reach out to any of our partners and they will be happy to get you started on your learning journey. And a special thanks to our official media partner, WordPress Hub, for giving us the global exposure. And what really makes me exciting to announce that GSDC has recently launched a GSDC AI Studio that comes with 100 plus live monthly sessions with the global experts. That includes 4 daily sessions, real-time practice, and it's certification ready. So if you're looking forward to get your learning journey started with GSDC AI Studio, I'm sharing the more details in the chat box. And GSDC is also offering certification portfolio in L&D, HR, generative AI, ISO lead auditor, project management, and many more. And if you're looking forward to get yourself certified, you can visit our website, gsccouncil.org, and we will be happy to get you started. Now, without wasting any further more time, I would like to introduce you all to Zubair Al-Nazi. He's going to be our speaker today. And yes, Zubair is a cybersecurity expert and a founder of Exiler with nearly 10 years of experience. He has found security issues in over 300 organizations, including Apple, Google, Facebook, Grab, and Uber. He has worked with companies like Bitdefender, Exita, Deriv to improve digital security. His discoveries, including CVE 2023, 23,526, and CVE 2023, 27,963, and 23,204 are globally recognized. Zubair is an advocate for responsible disclosure and shares knowledge through open source projects. He has spoken at major events like GTEx Global and Asia on cybersecurity and emerging threats. Zubair, thank you so much for being part of today's session. We absolutely look forward to your session, and the virtual mic is all yours now.
Thank you so much, Corey, for the introduction. I think I'll just straight away jump into the presentation. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, it's visible. Thank you so much.
Okay. Okay. Welcome everyone to this session where we'll be basically diving into the AI governance metrics under ISO 42001. Basically, it's a very new compliance that came for AI, and we'll be looking into the implications of it, and also the impacts, and how this can be actually kind of a tool that you can use to get the most out of AI governance, right? So starting off, just a bit about myself. I'm the founder of Exiler. Currently, I'm leading this organization where we're actually solving application security with the help of AI, and we are focusing solely on remediations. So we have a technology where we can take live attack signals and then convert it to remediation, which is completely different from what the other AppSec vendors are doing out there. And we are also patenting this technology. And about my career, I think Gauri already mentioned that I've been acknowledged by a few big companies across the globe. A few of my 0 days were in Apple mostly, and those were covered by a large media organization like Forbes, SC Magazine, and many other platforms. So yeah, going forward, I'll just start with this very interesting. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with this black box concept in AI. The reason I want to start with this is so that like we get a bit of idea that why we need this kind of frameworks in place to kind of like at least measure the outcomes and how AI actually behaves, or in the wild, how we can even at least put a line to kind of like control this technology. So there was actually an interview with Sundar Pichai, like Google's CEO, and in that interview, he mentioned that there is a certain component of AI which even uh, like the experts in the field don't know how it works. And in this specific interview with the 60 minutes interview, I think he mentioned that there was in one of the instances, what happened was that Gemini was not trained on this language for Bangla, right? It was not trained on this language, but it managed to learn it by itself. And this is something, and in some of the cases, it was actually also responding with that language. So they were not sure, like how is this happening? And this is something I've even seen many other leaders across the industry. They explain this as something, as you know, black box, because they don't know how to explain it, like how the AI is, producing this. They don't have the knowledge to kind of like grasp it. So this is a bit scary to know that we have built a technology that even we don't know what it does, right? So under ISO 42001, actually this what it does is that with the new AIMS, it actually kind of like tries to measure all this, that whatever is happening with this AI, with your models, are you doing like proper measurement, and also are you setting up proper like boundaries across your model so that like it doesn't go wild, like for example with the like even with the ISO 42001, I think it's still a very progressing framework. I'm pretty sure a lot of things will get added to it as we see AI uh, AI changes the surface of the technology, and how we are moving or progressing into the future. A lot of things will change, that's for sure. But if we look into the requirements of it, we can understand that it actually tries to kind of like put some enforcement regarding the management of the AI, improving the models continuously, and also how does it get implemented across the ecosystem, like across the organization, and then also maintaining it. So these are like the four core requirements of this framework. And then what happens is that uh, via uh, all these implementations, you can kind of like get a metrics, or let's say an understanding, like what's like how much in control are you. Because see, like I told you, like the black box part, even large organizations, when they don't know what's happening, like to a certain extent, they don't know. So at least this kind of frameworks will actually help us kind of like put like a boundaries uh, uh, across this vast field of AI, so that like we can come in and actually extract whatever is needed from this technology. Now, let's say if I look into the structure of it, like if, let's say if we look into it a bit in depth, you see, it starts from the context of the organization, like what it does, and how it kind of like influences the, like I said, like the ecosystem across the organization. And then what are the regulatory mandates? Like, for example, if I bring my organization into this picture, Exiler is ISO 27K certified. Then we are also SOC 2 compliant. So we are always trying to be, we're trying to establish a picture of our organization in a way that showing that, hey, we're always compliant, and we're always trying to make our product more mature, so that like it fits into your organization without any compliance barrier. Because now with the emerging AI, a, you know, a this AI being in the front line of all these technologies now. Literally, all the new software that you're seeing coming out, all the new products that are coming out everywhere, AI is somewhere, right? So how do we kind of like merge all of this into like a very compliant framework, so that like we can deliver good products to our customers? So this is something that I can see my organization coming in and kind of like trying to maintain all this kind of steps, and also the frameworks in place, so that like we have some sort of control. Definitely compliance is the first step of the security in terms of, let's say, the entire industry, like cybersecurity industry. Like definitely compliance comes first, and then basically all the nitty-gritty stuff that you do within your organization, those comes as like the additional layers that you need to put on. Then if you see like leadership, definitely like if you don't enforce it from the top, if you don't set up policies, if you don't set up proper transparency across the board to see what the product is doing and how the product is actually delivering outputs to your customers, how is it even behaving in certain conditions? Because if I add like one specific instance from our stories, like there was one incident where we were building this an agentic hacker, and in the first stage of the development, what happened was that we were doing some POC runs, and out of nowhere we actually like saw the software doing some hallucination. Basically, the model was doing some hallucination, and it was a very funny interaction. So what happened was that the agentic hacker was supposed to log into the target website and then basically conduct some specified steps, because it is trying to replicate the VAPT that we usually do in penetration testing. So it is trying to basically automate all those stuff and then get results out, right? But what happened was that the moment our agentic hacker managed to bypass CAPTCHA, go into the system, and then trying to list down all the features or extracting the logs, it was suddenly giving us results, or let's say the URLs of adult websites. And we were shocked, like, how is this happening? Because this was not even within, let's say, our lab environment, but this was popping out. And we dig deep into the model. We checked the logs, what went wrong, why this is coming up. And at one point, like, we thought that whether we got compromised or something. So then actually like we looked into like we did like a thorough investigation and we find out that okay, this model was hallucinating. And then we kind of like did some prompt engineering on top of it so that it doesn't do this kind of random stuff. And yeah, that's how we solved it. But this was like a real example of, let's say, when you don't put like guardrails or any sort of like framework for the models that you're bringing into the market, or let's say even you're using, let's say, for example, we all of us like use ChatGPT and many other models, right, for our daily stuff. But even ChatGPT writes at the bottom of the website that, hey, whatever we generate, we might make mistakes. So they actually acknowledge it that, hey, the models might hallucinate. So don't take everything for granted. So these things are out there, but this should be transparent across the leadership and across the management board. Because me working on tech side most of the time, when let's say I have my partners who are not that technical, I need to explain it to them that, hey, um, this is something that quite natural for models to do, but we're putting in compliant based. Basically, we're going in a more compliant approach to kind of like contain situations like that. So this kind of policies and additional resources should be provided from the leadership position, and then definitely planning. Uh, like once you understand the risk, like I mentioned, like I mentioned the story just now, we identify this kind of risk while developing, and also we strictly maintain like certain procedures for our models to be deployed in the pipelines. So those also goes along with the planning. Yeah, and then basically we set up like a very high level kind of like a goal, and then that's how we proceed. And at four, it comes like support. Like, of course, in order for you to run such intelligent infrastructure, you need to have also expert people always maintaining and always monitoring the system. So that's something we do via, we have a dedicated security team, and also our R&D team continuously tries to push the models to its limits. But yeah, that's something we do all the time to make sure we have things in control. And then operations, of course, day-to-day procedures, things like approvals will be there. And performance evaluation. So, of course, like I mentioned, that within our lab environment, we always do this kind of uh, practices evaluation and stuff. And then we understand what needs to be improved. And then basically on 7, the improvement comes. So the reason I actually aligned this with my organization is because actually, due to us understanding the risks of AI, me coming from security background, and also going into the going deeper into the AI ecosystem, I kind of like understand like these parts. But let's say organizations who are, or let's say the leaders of different organizations who might not understand this kind of procedures or this kind of operational activities actually can come at a cost, because like I mentioned, that AI is a technology that is very sophisticated, and if you don't understand, if you don't have experts to contain or and control it, there is a possibility that it can go pretty wild. And actually, like even our organization is preparing to go for this certification, so we're internally structuring everything so that like we are well prepared to be more compliant to the new frameworks that are coming out into the industry. Now, why AI governance actually needs the metrics? So I already mentioned some of the part, like the decisions, like for example the ChatGPT example, that not all the time it will give you the correct answer, or it will not generate the content that how do I say is always accurate. And the thing is that, see, if I go a bit technical on this part, you might some people might ask, like, then why does it need to answer me? Like it can just say that, hey, I don't know this. But see, if you look at the previous models, there were certain stories we've seen that where the AI would literally lie. Like it would lie. So like for example, if you guys saw, like there's some mathematical and some logical questions that AI just lied, like ChatGPT just lied to you, and it was very obvious. And another case I saw, like there was a guy who was chatting with ChatGPT and asked like, "Hey, my the petrol station is 100 meters away. Should I take my car, or should I just walk to the petrol station to fill up the gas?" The ChatGPT reply, "You can just walk because it's just 100 meters." But then he asked, like, "Then how will I fill up the gas? Because I'm not taking my car." So see, this kind of like the outputs that AI generates is because if you look at the technical aspects of it, the way it's designed, it's to generate content for you. Like there is no possible way that you can ask something to an AI and it won't generate. That there is no possibility unless you instruct it specifically that don't generate anything for me, it won't generate. But the entire design of this AI is to generate. So let's say for decision wise, like let's say if someone is integrating agents, like we are seeing agentic AI, this kind of agents actually take decisions when it's doing something. I think my screen share just went off. Can you guys see it?
Yes, Zubair, we can see it now.
Oh, okay, yeah. Sorry. So these agents actually make a lot of decisions as they move into the ecosystem and do their stuff, right? You guys have heard of maybe Moltbot or OpenClaw, right? These are like the perfect example of agents going wild. So and imagine, let's say, like I mentioned, few of the cases where ChatGPT or let's say other big models, they cannot answer properly. When you throw these decisions into these agents, what will happen? Imagine this at scale. So if the models make wrong decisions, then there is a possibility of like you end up breaching yourself. There is a possibility of you harming other users. There is a possibility of you generating stuff that are very sensitive and then basically uh, kind of like ruin your reputation. So there's so much uh, possibilities with this kind of thing. So when you don't set up metrics, you actually don't see the visibility. That's why these metrics are needed. Like how, like you can also how do I say, structure this in a way that the more evaluation metrics, the more let's say testing and improvements you do across these models, you actually get like a visibility. And you can actually like put it into a number, like, hey, this is measurable. Like I'm getting, let's say my model is generating this and this and that, and I don't want it to generate contents regarding this and that. So you basically kind of like measure it in a way and then also check the outputs. So this is why, like with the new framework, the AI governance actually kind of like gives you the opportunity to put all of this into a like a like in a visible form, and then you can like decide on that, right? So that's why this kind of metrics are needed. Now, what does this framework actually demands, right? What does it actually want from you? Is that definitely identify risk first, as we have seen on the first 4 core requirements, and then define measurable objectives, monitor performance, and continuously improve. So I think like this is kind of like already understandable. Like as I've explained that if you don't identify the risk, if you don't potentially if you don't understand the potential risk that goes into your models, because people are now coming up with their own models. Like for example, for in our case, like for Exile's case, we depend on, let's say, the third party ones, right? On certain operations, very small level operations where We don't need we don't need to create our own LLMs. So we basically use them, and these are trusted third-party vendors. Then we have our own models, which actually takes on and does the heavy lifting. Those needs to be very closely monitored by us, because uh, we don't know, like I mentioned, like there's certain outputs that might generate things that are not expected. So that's why we implement very rigid guardrails to make sure that, hey, whatever it generates, it's fully under our control, and it doesn't generate things that would end up giving garbage uh, to like basically to the customers, or basically even to the agents that is instructed. So yeah, this is something that actually is the core of this framework, so that like you get accountability that, hey, these are all the uh, requirements that needs to be fulfilled in order for me to ship a model, right? So these things are uh, very crucial, and also not just for models. Actually, I've gone through this framework quite a bit, and I've seen that it also applies to, let's say, employees, let's say, who are using other third-party models. Like, for example, let's say your company allows you to use ChatGPT in your workplace, right? And then what you're doing, you're taking sensitive documents like business documents, and you're uploading it to ChatGPT, and you're just like chatting with that. So basically, ChatGPT will take your data, and then basically I think the free one actually takes the data and then trains on those data. And maybe for paid one, they say that for privacy purposes they don't, to some extent, but it depends to which extent they won't take and they will take, right? So this kind of procedure also gets measured by this framework. It actually kind of like stops employee from going rogue into those models, and it kind of like sets up a control and also implements the policies across the organization. Now, the four metrics that matter the most: risk and impact, reliability and transparency, and of course, security. Now, like I mentioned, like if let's say if I again bring my organization into the picture, whatever the output that my models generate, right? Does it create a business risk? So these are like very straightforward questions that you should be asking when, let's say, setting up this kind of metrics. And then also reliability: is the performance stable over time? Like, for example, you don't want to have a model that let's say maybe performs let's say, for example, from 10 to 100 users, the performance goes from up, like from good to bad in a very drastic way. So that means like the reliability of this model is very questionable, because the moment there is more data being pushed into the model, or the way it's designed, it cannot handle scalability. So this kind of questions should be asked, because, see, another example I can give you here is that you guys might be using the new ChatGPT 5.2, which is actually OpenAI's largest model so far. But you see, like, still in the industry, GPT-4 is still known as the best model so far. But why so? Because if you go a bit deeper into this aspect, you'll understand that these models, like scalability, also has a limit. Like, if you, let's say, scale it too much, it's gonna be hallucinating, or let's say it's gonna be generating content, unnecessary contents, and also might not give you the right output as needed, or let's say the solid impact from that output might not be taken. So, see, this kind of discussion, or this kind of scenarios actually creates question for reliability. Like, I myself, if you ask me personally, I still use GPT-4 over 5.2 because I think like the content that it generates, it's still okay, but I think 4 is more concise when it comes to certain like tasks that I perform by it. And also of course, like let's say maybe the data might not be latest, but like I mentioned, that the scalability also comes at the cost. Then you need to ask whether it's reliable or not. Then transparency. Can decisions be explained? Like, see, now if you noticed, the big organizations, whenever, let's say, the AI is generating something, right? You see there is a thinking mode and it shows what it's thinking, right? This is actually kind of like a transparency mode. Like it's showing you that, hey, this is the logic. I'm kind of like debating myself against this logic, and then I'm generating this for you, so that you understand and see the whole flow. That why is it doing like that? And let's say if you ask for 1+1, and if it, let's say, generates the answer of 2, why is it doing so? Because it actually has like a logical explanation, and by which it justifies the answer and then outputs that, right? So this is what actually comes into the transparency part. You need to make sure that whatever the system or software you're using, this is there, like the transparency is there, and you can see what this model is generating via what. And then of course security, like I mentioned, you need to make sure that like very traditional attacks like prompt injections, model poisoning, this kind of thing shouldn't like overwhelm your models. Because see, uh, in the beginning of this AI revolution, you might have seen a lot of news regarding ChatGPT being jailbroken. What does that mean? It means that people manage to generate prompts and basically convince the model to behave something else. Like for example, the ChatGPT is designed not to talk about, let's say, illegal stuff, or let's say something that you can use to exploit, right? But with that jailbreak, you can actually convince it to do all of that, because it just got out of the system instructed uh, design, and now it's actually working exactly how you're asking it to perform, right? So these are very risky things that that organizations should consider when, let's say, even interacting with third party models and also building their own. Because if you don't put really strong guardrails for this kind of implementations, then it will end up very bad for organization, because you'll end up seeing people exploiting your models to get very offensive outputs, and then maybe it will also ruin the reputation that, hey, see, XYZ model is giving me this kind of response. And yeah, so that's why this security part has to be there, so that you can understand and also with this specific security portion, you can also understand how much are you in control. Because see, if you like I said, like AI is something that is very wild. If you don't have measures to control it, or let's say contain it, then it's gonna actually also behave very well with your customers, and you don't want that, right? So that's why these are the 4 metrics that matter the most, and you should be always asking yourself before even going in depth with the implementation and both usability of, let's say, any sort of models. Now, see, I already gave an example of Exiler, like where we actually noticed this very odd behavior. But I also wanted to bring in more, let's say, use cases, right? That would actually kind of like make the whole session understandable, right? So, like I said, like our platform is a AppSec platform, and let's say what if we generate a lot of false negative like vulnerabilities? False positive ratio also is very high, and then our drift detection is not as good, and then also the findings that we're doing, it doesn't have like a proper explanation. What will this lead to? Like if we just think about it for a moment, this will lead to whole platform being useless. If I just say it in a very straightforward way, it's like we're going to be useless basically, because if I'm generating so much false positive results, and also I'm missing vulnerabilities, I'm not seeing whether my model is actually behaving the way I designed it to do, and then also there is no explanation. It's just saying like, oh, just go fix it, but why, where is it? I don't know. Like there's no explanation. Then the whole thing would just not make sense, you see. So that's why this kind of governance and this kind of compliance should be in place. And also it actually see, like it's also complementing my product and also making it more mature. Because see, when this kind of framework gets put into place and procedures get uh, procedures goes into the, let's say, the implementation level, then what happens is that even at the employee level, people get aware and they understand that, okay, we need to always make sure this, like for example, this drift detection is always gets monitored, and we understand that our model is behaving exactly the way it is supposed to, and also it's not generating random garbage. It's actually generating useful information. And then we also can trace back from where is it actually generating all this data. Is it like actually from a client's data, or is it like something that is generating by itself? So this kind of scenarios is very familiar, in any product-based company. So, but the thing is that with compliance, or let's say with such AI governance, and also setting up metrics across the organization, you can actually see, like you can actually improve. You can also get the visibility, and also you can contain. So these things are then more under your control, and also it actually helps you build the platform much more stronger, uh, as we move further. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of like add that to give you guys a full picture of, let's say, how in real world scenario, how this kind of like actually complements the entire ecosystem for an organization like us. Okay, so I also wanted to mention that a lot of people might now think that, hey, even for me, like me being the founder of Exiler, even I might think that, hey, I have done this, I've done that, so maybe that's enough, right? I have already done two quite known compliance. Software is purely product focused, so should be good, right? But see, these are not AI focused compliance, and they actually don't represent, or they also don't. These compliance actually don't mean that your models are secure or your models are more, how do I say, mature, right? They only take responsibility till, let's say, your infrastructure, or maybe till your organization, but nothing more than this. I mean, these two, right? So that's why, like this new framework that ISO 42001 is required, because this actually fits into AI solely, and it actually goes from top, like as we've seen the structure from top, like from leadership to planning everywhere. So this gap is still there, and we all need to kind of like consider this kind of framework and also push it into the ecosystem to kind of like contain and also uh, bring more meaning to our products. So at Exile, actually, how we approach this kind of situations, and like I said, I've also mentioned that we're also preparing for this upcoming compliance. So what we do is actually we monitor the quality like what we're generating. Like I mentioned also in the first phase of the session, that in our lab environment, we noticed this kind of odd behavior. But not just at lab environment, when we also deployed our customers infrastructure, we also monitor those closely. Of course, we do take consent, and then we kind of like try to tune the models. If, let's say, if certain customization is needed, we do that. So we always understand this aspect of AI, that hey, this can go wrong, but we also with correct enforcement and with correct policies, this can be contained. So we also understand this two aspect of AI. And then track reliability trends, like I mentioned already, like the output that is generating, whether it's reliable or not, and also the way we're delivering it. Is the data viable, or we're just generating garbage? So this also we track across the product lineup that we have. And then secure model pipeline. So see, secure model pipeline, sometimes people understand that, hey, maybe you just put a guardrail on top of a model and then put some prompts, very strict system prompt, and that's it. Actually, that's not the whole thing. Definitely, that's a part of it. But see, your infra also comes into the picture. That's why, let's say, compliance like SOC 2 is very essential, because let's say if you're deploying it in cloud, are you maintaining proper cloud security, proper posture? Are you maintaining proper compliance posture across your cloud? So this kind of thing actually also comes into the picture, because see, if, let's say, someone breaches into your infrastructure, let's say your model is secured, it doesn't matter, because they can still come in and actually interfere with the model's behavior, and then basically push malicious data into the model. So this thing actually goes across the entire ecosystem, and then basically you can kind of like get a like you can be a bit ensure that, okay, maybe I have sufficient security in place to basically call it a secure pipeline. And then log AI decisions for evaluation. Of course, like we also need to actually this goes back into the monitoring part. Like what kind of decision is it throwing? We also evaluate it, and then we repeat it across many different iterations to understand that whether the evaluation that we're seeing, it makes sense or not. Like, for example, if, let's say, if we're building an agent, and let's say the agent is performing ABC task, and let's say after 10 iterations is performing exactly the same, then we actually try to give it very different kind of scenario and see what it does. Like basically, we try to take it out of the lab environment, and we make the scenario more realistic, maybe with our partners and pilot users, and see how it behaves. And also, we even at that stage, we keep it at the evaluation period. And once we're more confident, and then that's when we actually push out the production version. But that's how we actually continuously try to keep the whole thing into in a containment situation, so that, like, in case if anything goes wrong, we have the control over it, and we know how to fix it as well. So my final message regarding regarding the entire AI governance would be, it's not an optional. It's not like an option at all, I would say. Specifically for AI native companies, like people, or let's say even leaders who are working with organizations that have products like fully relied on AI, and they're building their own models. This is not an option. Like, you guys have to consider it. This kind of metrics that this specific ISO compliance is putting out there. And then definitely the outcomes, like the more you strengthen your compliance, you actually increase trust across the board. Like I mentioned, that the product gets mature, you generate much better results, your model generates more reliable data, not garbage. And then basically moving on from there, it actually makes a product, more market fit, right? Because a lot of the new models are coming out, they're going through multiple iterations, and then finally actually they get into a stage where it's like, okay, yeah, this is a perfect fit. Like, for example, I just mentioned about ChatGPT, that hey, the GPT-4 is way better than 5.2, but because GPT-4 has hit the sweet spot, and yeah, that's why the the output of that is quite different than the other ones, the other models out there, right? And then the readiness, of course, once you understand that basically the core requirements that I've discussed, once you understand these requirements, you can actually start measuring across your ecosystem. And you can actually start even setting up KPIs based on those. And then once you push those procedures and basically convert that into policies and enforce them, you can actually see visible outcomes that basically goes back into the outcome portion, where actually things become more visible. What I've understood is that via this AI governance, what you get at the end of the day is visibility and control. And this too is very important when it comes to security. So basically with this, the whole thing, you get these three, right? Visibility, control, and security. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of like cover all the aspects of it, and also give you guys a real world picture of, let's say, what's happening for an AI native company and how they're tackling both threats and also this kind of hallucination scenarios. And yeah, so I just kind of like uh, uh, kind of wanted to give you guys that understanding, and also how the new compliances are coming up with solutions for these kind of situations, and how we're also preparing to kind of like adapt to those compliance. So I think that's it from my side. If you guys have any questions, maybe I'll just pass it to Corey, and then maybe we can do the Q&A.
Thank you, Zubair, for that insightful session. Yes, I see that the questions are already coming. And yes, also to let you all know that I have also shared Zubair's LinkedIn in the chat box. So please feel free to reach out to him and give him a follow on LinkedIn, so you can always learn from his experience and see what he is up to. And the first question that we are having here is, what kind of KPI is suitable for the public AI system? Is KRI also applied?
Um, so for public systems, I'm assuming it's. I'll just stop sharing my screen. Yeah. So for public system, I'm assuming it's you're referring to, let's say, ChatGPT, or let's say Claude, like that. Everyone is using. So definitely you can set some KPIs regarding those kind of systems. Like, for example, um, see, if you're using an API, or let's say you're calling into those third-party vendors, what you can do is that, like I mentioned, like those guardrails that come into place, and also the prompt engineering that comes into place, those things can be set under a KPI. Like, if I give an example, like let's say you have an AI application that has an agent inside it. And what the agent does is that it makes a call to, let's say, your model deployed in Azure Cloud, and let's say it's a GPT-4 model. And then it actually, let's say, tries to do an action regarding, let's say, creating a message or something like that. So what you can do is that, let's say, when it does the communication, right? Like, for example, the user sends a message that, hey, can you set up a reminder for tomorrow's meeting? Then the model actually goes and requests, basically first it tries to understand the message, and then it generates those instructions from the model, and then basically feeds into the agent, and then basically the reminders get set, right? the thing is that you can actually set up certain KPIs around the operations. Like, for example, when it's making the call, whether it's a reliable information that is being passed through. And also, as you set up the monitoring, like, for example, the API communication, whether this model is hallucinating or not. And also, because like, see, sometimes, like I mentioned, that we also use in some of our portion of the product, we do use LLMs, public LLMs. So what we have also seen hallucination from this big giant. So if you don't put this kind of how do I say, metrics to kind of like understand what's happening specifically at procedure level and how the communication is being done, then you cannot like sort of like implement the remediation for it. Like, for example, if I, let's say, don't see that and don't understand how the communication is being made, then I cannot set up an API like, okay, whenever, uh, let's say 40 or 50 requests is being sent, I can see that on 45th attempt, there is a hallucination kind of like situation that, arises. So how can I, let's say, improve it in the next term? So that's definitely something that can be set up in a more technical way to kind of like tackle these things. And if I say from the, let's say, from a bit non-tech part, let's say you're in an organization and you have employees that are using, let's say, ChatGPT and all this for the daily stuff, right? Then maybe you can set up KPIs in a more, I would say, more procedure manner. Like, for example, let's say, whenever, let's say, they're communicating to the model, to the public models, uh, they can kind of like, let's say, if, let's say, they use business data or something, they can kind of like see whether the response that they're getting, and also when they're sending the data, they can also sanitize it. Like, for example, uh, let's say you want to send a specific email, and there is, let's say, email address and all this, let's say, phone number and everything. You can actually remove that and send it to the model, and then actually create a content. So in that case, you're not actually telling the model, or let's say sending actually sensitive data, because you're removing the labels from it, right? So now you may ask, like, how do I set up a KPI based on that? Because you're just telling me procedure. The thing is that for this kind of like, how do I say, operations, you kind of like define a KPI. But what you can do is that, hey, look, uh, uh, I know that for your daily task you use, let's say, ChatGPT 5 times or something. So out of the 5 times, maybe let's say 6th or 7th, let's say, whenever you cross that margin, you can kind of like get, how do I say, an approval or something. And then maybe you can share those data and show me how the response is coming up. But this is more of like a vague cases, I would say. In my organization, we don't have like a KPI metrics across this. But yeah, it's more of like in a very still in a very vague format. Regarding the KRI, yes, KRI can be set. Like, for example, I mentioned the communication. You can set up certain metrics to understand whether this model is sending sensitive data. Like I mentioned, right? The customer says like, "Hey, can you send me? Can you set up an alarm for 5 a.m. in the morning?" And then let's say you want to see whether the agent is actually sending customer's phone number or email to the model. These things you can put under KRI and continuously measure and monitor that, hey, no, my agent is not sending sensitive data to that side, so I'll just continue it at that side, and what I'll just send is just the instruction. So the only instruction that will go is that, hey, I want to set an alarm for 5 a.m. I won't send the data for the user, like the phone number or WhatsApp number or whatever it is. So this way you can kind of like set up certain measures to kind of like predict that, okay, if let's say if I have this risk, or if I have this feature, then I might have this and that risk. Kind of like a threat modeling you can do also in this specific area. So yeah, definitely KRI can be said, but KPI is something that is pretty vague, I would say.
Thank you so much, Zubair, for that insightful answer, and hope Danny 8 also gave you insights. And the second question that we have here, it asks like, can you give just brief on AI impact assessment versus AI risk assessment?
Okay, yeah, this is quite like I would say a very good question. So what is the difference between AI impact assessment and risk assessment? So impact is mostly revolves around how, let's say, this AI is generating the content and what sort of output is it generating. Is it like something that is harmful? And that's how basically the impact gets created. So definitely for impact assessment, you can understand what kind of content is it generating. And if it's, let's say, for example, if it's a model that is, let's say, LLM, right? Like, for example, it has so much knowledge is being pushed into an LLM. So LLM has also very vast kind of what I say, like options or features or outputs, right? Like, for example, if you ask an LLM how to do coding, it will answer you. If you ask an LLM, hey, can you prepare a die chart for me? It can do that, right? So it has so much information. So to prepare an impact assessment on those, you need to consider all these outputs that it's going to generate. And then based on that, you can actually come up with the measurement and then basically do the assessment. And for the risk assessment, it goes mostly on the part where, let's say, how you're containing the AI, specifically on the guardrail part, let's say how you're securing the AI, and also how frequent the AI, let's say, generates offensive content or something, or let's say hallucinates to a level that it generates very harmful content. Or let's say people can actually do prompt injection and model poisoning. Like, for example, the security concept comes into that place. So impact assessment would mostly cover that part, that aspect of the models, and then risk would mostly cover on the part where, let's say, whether this system itself is secure or not. So that's how actually I would put the whole thing into picture.
Thank you so much, Zubair. If you have any questions, you can reach out to Zubair directly on LinkedIn. Again, I'm also once again sharing Zubair's LinkedIn. And yes, let's see if we are getting any questions. And I go here to access recording. CC. Najib, you can reach out to any of our, training partners, or you can directly write an email to gsdccouncil.org. And yes, you should be able to get access to the recordings of the past associations. And also side by side, the YouTube channel also has all the recordings of the sessions which has happened in the past. And I guess like those were the questions we had, Zubair, for today, and we are very grateful for your session. And before we call this session off, do you have any final statement that you would like to give us?
Yeah, and I would definitely like to thank you guys and thank GSDC for organizing this session. And I hope I managed to share some insightful knowledge to all of you guys. And also, I basically try to give you guys a real picture of what's happening, even with my startup, and how we're tackling this AI madness, so that you guys can kind of like get an understanding that, okay, uh, the landscape is pretty broad, and also there's so much to do for us to kind of like put the whole AI into a stage where it's uh, more, of course, it's beneficial, but more controllably beneficial, basically, so that like we have certain control across the ecosystem, and then that's how we can like push more models, more intelligence into the society. So yeah, that's all I have to say from my side.
Thank you so much, Zubair. And I hope sometime in future we get a chance to have a session with you again, as I'm sure
Sure.
participants have definitely enjoyed your session and there's a lot to learn from you. So thank you once again. And
Sure.
to everyone, I have a couple of more announcements to make. So yes, like next week we will be having amazing panel of experts as well. And if you're looking forward to get yourself certified with GSDC, you're getting a special 20% discount. And it's only for the participants who have joined today's session. And GSDC has also launched a utility tool that helps you make your professional visibility on professional level and also open doors to the global opportunities. All you have to do is use code AUG100 and you can grab your opportunity. And we have amazing event happening on 5th of March in Women in Risk Management and ISO driven leadership. So you can get yourself registered for that because it's going to be an open panel discussion where all these amazing women speakers will be giving us a session on their expertise. And we will also be having the AI series followed with the learning and development series happening in the next week. So if that's something that interests you, make sure you're part of it. Now it's time to celebrate our referral champions, Astik Saxena, Rakesh Ranjan, and Bandi Hemant. If you would like to earn vouchers worth $400 from GSDC, all you have to do is invite your colleague, co-workers, and your community to one of these events and become a part of the championship. And as soon as you start to climb up the leaderboard, you earn vouchers worth $400 from GSDC. And if you would like to be a part of any of our learning capsule webinars or podcast, you can reach out to me on gauri@gsccouncil.org and we will be happy to get you started from there. Lastly, we would love to connect with you, so make sure you're following us on LinkedIn. You can visit our website, join the exclusive WhatsApp group, and if you could kindly share your session takeaways on reviews.io, we would be delighted to read them. And with this, we come to an end for this week's series. Zubair, thank you so much once again, and thank you everyone. Have a good day and good night.